I didn't wake up because of an alarm. I woke up because of silence. Not the normal quiet you get early in the morning. I mean the kind of silence that feels wrong, like the world is holding its breath. My phone screen was glowing beside my bed. No notifications, no overnight messages, no news alerts. That alone was strange, because every morning my sister Rachel texts me before work, every single day. Just good morning and a sun emoji. Nothing. I sat up and called her, straight to voicemail. I called again, voicemail. I figured her phone died until I noticed something weird. Her location, shared on our family map, still showed she was at home, 2 miles away. So I drove there. The front door was open. Rachel would never leave it open, ever. Her car was still in the driveway, coffee maker still running, but Rachel was gone. Not went somewhere gone, gone like someone paused a movie and erased the main character. Her phone sat on the kitchen counter, still unlocked, her Bible open on the table beside it. I felt this heavy pressure in my chest I couldn't explain. I checked the bathroom, closets, backyard, nothing missing, no struggle, just absence. Outside, a neighbor stood in the street crying. Across the road, a police cruiser was parked sideways, engine running, driver door open, but no officer. And then I heard sirens, dozens of them, all at once, not responding to one place, everywhere. I turned on the radio for news. Static. Every station, static. Finally, one signal came through, a local talk station, but no host, just callers talking over each other. People are missing. My husband vanished out of the shower. Planes are down. Kids gone from schools. The line cut, then silence again. On the highway, traffic wasn't jammed. It was abandoned. Cars stopped in lanes, doors open, some still running. I saw a semi-truck that had drifted across 3 lanes into the barrier. No driver. That's when the fear stopped being confusion and became realization. I grabbed Rachel's Bible from the passenger seat at a red light. It opened to a page already folded, a verse underlined in pen. I didn't even grow up religious. She did, but I knew exactly what it meant. My hands started shaking because suddenly every conversation she ever tried to have with me came back at once, and I remembered the last thing she told me 3 nights ago. I laughed at her when she said it. Now, I wish I hadn't. I wasn't the only one who understood. I could see it in people's faces, some screaming, some praying in parking lots, some just staring at the sky like they missed a train they were supposed to be on. By afternoon, the power went out across half the city. Phones stopped working. And that's when the emergency broadcast finally appeared on a store TV powered by a generator. The reporter looked terrified, not professional anymore, not controlled, just scared. He said the government had no explanation, but I already knew the explanation, and I knew something worse. Rachel didn't just disappear, she was taken, and I was left. That night I went back to her house, not because it was safe, because I needed answers. Her Bible was still on the table, but this time, something inside it wasn't there before. A note, written in her handwriting, and it had my name on it. I didn't open it yet, because deep down, I already knew what it would say.
I stared at the envelope for a long time. My name, Daniel, written in Rachel's handwriting. Not rushed, not messy, careful, like she expected me to read it calmly. But nothing about this day was calm. Outside, the neighborhood wasn't quiet anymore. People were shouting down the street. A dog barked non-stop somewhere nearby. Car alarms kept going off with nobody turning them off. Still, the house felt frozen. I finally opened it. Inside was a folded paper and a small house key taped to it. The letter started simple. Daniel, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and I know you won't believe it at first. My throat tightened. Please don't panic. What happened today wasn't random, and it wasn't aliens or the government. Jesus kept his promise. I stopped reading. I actually said out loud, "No," but my voice sounded weak, like I didn't believe my own denial. I kept going. You always joked I was preparing for the end of the world. I wasn't. I was preparing for rescue. I prayed you would listen before this day came. My hands started shaking harder. Because 3 nights ago, she did try again. We were eating takeout on her couch. She told me, "Someday people will disappear all at once." I laughed and told her she watched too many sermons online. She didn't argue. She just looked sad. The letter continued. There will be fear now. Governments won't know what to say. They will create explanations because the truth is too frightening. Do not believe them over Scripture. Outside, a helicopter flew low over the neighborhood. I heard someone yelling, "Stay inside! National emergency!" I kept reading. Daniel, if you're still here, it means you still have time, but life is going to change fast. Find Pastor Miller. He will still be here. He will help you understand what comes next. Pastor Miller. Her church. I'd been there once, Christmas service, years ago. I remember him clearly. Older guy, calm voice, never dramatic. If this was chaos everywhere, why would he still be there? The last part of the letter. The world will offer peace soon. It will look like hope, but don't accept it without questioning everything. Read the Gospel of John first. Start there. I love you. I never stopped praying for you. Rachel. No goodbye, just love, like she expected to see me again. I lowered the paper slowly. For the first time all day, I cried. Not panic, not fear, grief, because the world suddenly felt bigger and emptier at the same time. That's when the TV flickered on. Power shouldn't have been on, but it came back just long enough. Every channel showed the same broadcast, a press conference, a government official standing beside military officers. He spoke carefully, choosing each word. Mass disappearances are being investigated. Citizens are urged not to speculate. Religious interpretations are unhelpful during this time. Unhelpful. I looked at Rachel's letter again. Then the man said something that made my stomach drop. A unified global response is forming tonight. Leaders across nations will address the world together within hours. Together, all at once, worldwide. It sounded organized, too organized for a morning disaster. My phone buzzed suddenly. First notification all day. Unknown number. Emergency alert. Curfew begins at 8 p.m. Remain indoors. Further instructions coming. The time was 7:42. 18 minutes. I grabbed the car keys and Rachel's Bible. If Pastor Miller was alive, I needed to find him before that broadcast, before whatever instructions meant. Because Rachel sounded certain about one thing. Something bigger than the disappearances was about to start. And deep down, I felt like tonight was the real beginning.
The streets looked different at night. Not darker, just empty in a way cities aren't supposed to be. No traffic lights changing for anyone. No late-night diners open. No music from passing cars. Just wind moving trash across the road. The curfew had already started, but I kept driving. Rachel's church was 15 minutes away. I made it in 8. The parking lot lights were on. That alone surprised me. Half the cars were still there, parked crooked, doors open, one still running with headlights aimed at the brick wall. I stepped out and immediately heard voices inside, not shouting, praying. The front doors were unlocked.
Inside, maybe 30 people sat scattered across the pews, some crying quietly, some just staring ahead. And at the front, Pastor Miller, exactly how I remembered him. Not panicked, not confused, just tired, like he hadn't slept but already understood everything. He looked at me before I said a word. "Rachel's brother," he said softly. My chest tightened. "You knew she'd be gone." He nodded once. "Yes." No explanation, no hesitation, just yes. I walked down the aisle holding the letter. "Tell me this isn't what it looks like," I said. "Tell me people didn't just get taken," he finished. I didn't answer. He gestured for me to sit. I didn't. "I need the truth," I said. He studied my face for a moment, then spoke quietly so only I could hear. "The church didn't disappear, the believers did." My hands went cold. "So this is it? The end of the world?" He shook his head slowly. "No, the beginning of the worst part." Someone turned on a small radio near the altar. A world broadcast had started early. Multiple leaders speaking one after another, different accents, different countries, but saying almost identical things. Unity, stability, cooperation. Then one voice took over, clearer, confident, not political sounding, reassuring. You know the kind of voice that makes crowds calm down instantly? Everyone in the church went silent, listening. The man said humanity had entered a new era of understanding. He promised solutions, order, peace. Even I felt it for a second, like maybe everything would be okay. Then I noticed Pastor Miller wasn't listening to the words. He was watching the people, watching their reactions. A woman near the back whispered, "He sounds right. Maybe this is good." Another nodded quickly, relieved. Pastor Miller closed his eyes briefly. "Too soon," he muttered. "What?" I asked. He looked at me. "People will want answers so badly they won't question the first comforting voice they hear." The broadcast continued. The speaker announced a global identification program coming soon, temporary at first, to help track survivors, distribute supplies, and rebuild trust. Most of the room relaxed hearing it. I didn't know why, but my stomach tightened again. I remembered the letter. "The world will offer peace soon. It will look like hope." The power flickered. The church lights dimmed. The radio crackled with static for a moment. Then the man's voice returned, louder than before, carried through emergency frequencies now. Almost everywhere at once. And for the first time, Pastor Miller looked afraid. Not shocked, not confused, afraid. He whispered, "It's happening faster than I thought." I unfolded Rachel's letter again. My eyes landed on one line I skipped earlier. "Stay close to other believers. Don't face it alone." I looked around the church. These people weren't just mourning anymore. They were waiting, like they knew tonight mattered. Outside, sirens started again, but not emergency sirens, military vehicles, passing the building one after another, and they didn't slow down. They were heading somewhere specific. Pastor Miller turned toward the windows, then towards me. "You arrived at the right time," he said quietly. I swallowed. "For what?" He didn't answer immediately. He just picked up his coat. "Because before morning," he said, "the world is going to choose who it trusts."
Nobody in the church moved for a moment. We all listened to the engines outside fade into the distance. Then someone locked the front doors. Not out of fear, out of instinct. Pastor Miller walked to the small office beside the stage and motioned for me to follow him. Inside, the room was lit by a single desk lamp and a battery lantern. Papers covered the desk, maps, handwritten notes, open Bibles. He shut the door.
"You came before the announcements," he said quietly. "That gives you time." "Time for what?" I asked. He opened a drawer and pulled out a small stack of printed pages. Government notices, curfew rules, emergency supply distribution centers, all released within hours. Too organized, too prepared. "They had plans ready," I said. He nodded. "Plans prepared long before today." I leaned against the wall, trying to process everything. "So what happens now? People just accept help?" "They will," he replied, "because fear makes control feel like safety." The radio in the sanctuary grew louder again. Someone increased the volume. We could hear the broadcast through the door. The same world speaker now explaining the identification system in more detail. Voluntary registration first. Food access linked to it. Medical care linked to it. Travel permissions linked to it. He never sounded threatening. That's what made it unsettling. Pastor Miller handed me another paper, a printed list of names. I recognized some, families from the neighborhood, all circled. "All gone this morning," he said. I noticed something else. Some names were underlined instead of circled. "What's the difference?" I asked. He hesitated. "Circled are believers who were taken. Underlined are people who heard the message but waited too long." My chest tightened. Rachel would have underlined my name. A knock hit the office door. 3 short taps. He opened it carefully. A teenage boy stood there, holding a tablet connected to a portable battery pack. "Sir, they're saying checkpoints start tonight." Pastor Miller frowned. "Already?" The boy nodded. "Highways closed, ID checks at city exits." I felt the air in the room grow heavy. They weren't just restoring order, they were controlling movement, fast. We stepped back into the sanctuary. The group had grown quieter, people sitting closer together now, listening, waiting. The broadcast switched to local authorities. A calm female voice spoke. "Residents are encouraged to register at assistance centers by morning to receive protection clearance." Protection clearance. I noticed several people visibly relax hearing that phrase. Hope is powerful, especially after terror. Then, suddenly, the lights went out completely. Pitch black. A few gasps echoed in the room. The generator outside tried to start, failed, then finally kicked on. Dim yellow light returned, and with it, headlights shining through the stained glass windows. Multiple vehicles had pulled into the parking lot. No sirens, no urgency, just arrival. Everyone froze. Someone whispered, "Police?" Pastor Miller didn't answer. He walked slowly toward the front doors, but didn't open them. Through the colored glass, we could see silhouettes. Not many, maybe 4 or 5 people, standing still, waiting, not forcing entry. A loudspeaker crackled outside. A calm male voice spoke. "Everyone inside, remain calm. We're here to help relocate you to a safety center." No threats, no weapons visible, just assistance. Yet nobody in the church moved. I looked at Pastor Miller. He looked at me and quietly said, "This is the first choice." I held Rachel's letter tighter in my hand because suddenly it didn't feel like a story anymore. It felt like a test, and I wasn't ready for the answer.
Nobody rushed the doors. Nobody even spoke for a few seconds. The voice outside repeated calmly, "Please gather your belongings. Transportation will be provided. You'll be safe there." Safe. That word almost worked. I could see it in people's faces, the exhaustion, the shock, the need for someone to take control so they wouldn't have to think anymore. A man 2 rows ahead of me stood up halfway, then sat back down. "Maybe we should go," he whispered to his wife. "They're helping everyone else."
Pastor Miller didn't argue with them. He didn't shout warnings. He just said quietly to the room, "You are free to choose. No one here will stop you." I stepped closer to the front windows. The figures outside wore dark uniforms, but not police. No department markings. Behind them sat a large bus with its interior lights on, already running, waiting. Not searching neighborhoods, collecting people who came willingly. The loudspeaker again. "Registration tonight guarantees priority access to food distribution beginning tomorrow morning." A few more people stood. Fear was slowly turning into reasoning, reasoning into acceptance. I looked down at Rachel's letter one more time. One line kept replaying in my mind. "The world will offer peace soon. It will look like hope." I walked back to Pastor Miller. "If we don't go, what happens?" I asked. He answered honestly, "Life becomes harder." He paused, "But truth becomes clearer." That wasn't comforting, but it felt real. The doors opened, not by them, by one of us. The man who'd been sitting ahead of me slowly unlocked it and stepped outside with his wife. The uniformed workers greeted them gently, smiles, reassuring nods. No force, no urgency, just welcome. They were escorted toward the bus. Nothing looked wrong, and that's exactly what made the room feel colder. More people followed, one by one. Some apologizing quietly as they passed the pews. Nobody judged them. Nobody tried to stop them. The bus began to fill. Then one of the uniformed men stepped just inside the doorway. He didn't cross far, just enough to speak clearly. "If you remain here, services may not reach this area again for some time," he said politely. "We strongly recommend relocation tonight." His eyes scanned the room briefly. When they passed over me, I felt like he wasn't just counting people, he was noting decisions. After a few minutes, only 11 of us remained. The bus doors closed. The engine grew louder, and it drove away without headlights, disappearing down the road. No sirens, no chaos, just quiet removal. I exhaled slowly. "That felt wrong," I said. Pastor Miller nodded. It was designed not to. He turned off the radio. For the first time all night, silence returned. But now it wasn't empty silence. It felt like the pause before something begins. I sat down in the front pew, Rachel's Bible resting on my knees. Outside, the sky looked unusually clear, too clear for a city night. I opened to the Gospel of John, like she wrote. The first words I saw were, "The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it." I didn't understand everything yet, but for the first time today, I wanted to. Pastor Miller gathered a few supplies from a cabinet, flashlights, bottled water, small radios. He handed one to me. "Stay close from now on," he said. "Things won't stay calm after tonight." I looked at him. "You mean worse than today?" He didn't answer immediately. He just looked toward the empty doorway. "No," he said softly, "more convincing." And that's where my next part begins. Because what happened after midnight, I'll show you when you give me the next thumbnail to follow.